Hello, Lake County, Florida, and welcome to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Lumber and Supply. I'm your host, Don Magruder, and you're listening to my 790 AM WLBE in beautiful Leesburg, Florida. I'd also like to welcome our viewers who are watching us today on Lake Sumter Television, that's LSTV, and Appleseed Marketing on Bright House 199, Comcast 13, and Florida Cable 4. Romac Lumber is a leading provider of building materials in Leesburg, and since 1945, local residents have been visiting our store on East Main Street in Leesburg for their construction products. Thousands of seniors over the last 70 years have come to Romac Lumber to assist them with materials and guidance when a loved one has all of a sudden lost mobility. The Center for Disease Control defines aging in place as the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income, and ability level. Today's subject is how to prepare and modify your home as you age. Each day there are thousands of seniors in the area that must make modifications to their homes because of the need for a wheelchair, ramp, special bathroom accommodations, or hospital bed. I have two experts on the show today who can assist you in how to prepare your home so you can age in place. Mike Hensley is the owner of Mike Hensley Construction, and Dennis McGee is the owner of the local Mr Handyman franchise. Every senior should stay tuned to find out what we're going to discuss and what they can do just in case they become immobile or incapacitated. With that, I'd like to introduce Mike Hensley, the owner of Mike Hensley Construction. Hello, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Don. Thanks for having me on.
We're very pleased to have you. You're one of the top remodelers in there. You do a lot of work out in the villages, and you specialize in this type of work. So we're so thrilled to have you in because, quite honestly, this is a big topic, and a lot of people are forced to make decisions suddenly. Before we get too deep in our conversation, Mike, why don't you take a few moments to tell our listeners about Mike Hensley Construction, such as where you're located and how someone can contact you, because I'm sure after the program there's going to be a lot of questions because this is such a big topic.
Well, Don, our office is in Wildwood, right off of 301. We're at 470 County Road 124A. We're upstairs of the floor shop offices. My phone number is 352-516-0499, or you can contact me by email. That would be mhensley, Hensley is Hensley, construction @yahoo.com.
And you've been serving this area for quite a while, haven't you, Mike?
Yes, sir. I came here 15 years ago.
And you're well familiar with the Gorn Zone as far as what's required with the Florida Building Codes and what it takes to get a job like this done, aren't you?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
What is your construction background and what type of license do you hold, Mike?
Well, actually, Don, I'm a third-generation builder.
Okay.
And I hold this residential contractor's license through the state of Florida.
Okay, and you're fully licensed and insured?
Yes, sir.
I think it's real important at this point to talk about why it is important to have a licensed builder to do your work. You know, a lot of people, they'll hire anyone without a license or insurance. Mike, talk a minute about the importance of hiring a licensed, insured builder.
Well, Don, it's for the homeowner's safety and their peace of mind to know that the person that they hired has got the correct education, took the effort to get certified, has the experience necessary and the means to complete their job in accordance with all the codes. And it also is very important, as you just said, that the contractor and any subcontractors that he uses will be fully licensed and insured, workman's comp and liability insurance.
Well, I know in the state of Florida you have to demonstrate an ability to perform work, and you have to have the proven experience before you can get a license. But the insurance reasons, and I've talked about this many times, is that when you hire someone to step foot on your property, if they do not have workers' comp, if they do not have general liability, if something happens to them or one of the workers that they bring on your job site, the homeowner could be liable. That's correct, isn't it?
That is correct. And Don, as a licensed contractor, I ensure that everybody that I hire to come onto your job site is licensed and insured also.
And if someone were to ask you to see your license and your insurance certificate, do you have a problem showing that?
Absolutely not, Don. I carry them with me everywhere I go.
You know, and in fact, that should be something you should ask of anybody that steps on your property. Isn't that true, Mike?
Absolutely.
You know, Mike, every day there are seniors who suffer stroke, unforeseen illnesses, accidents that in the blink of an eye, they could lose their mobility. Let's talk about some real life scenarios for making a home more accessible. The biggest area is the bathroom. When someone becomes immobile, what can be done in the bathroom to make it not only wheelchair accessible, but accessible with someone who's lost some mobility?
Well, Don, that's a great question, and it's not only the wheelchair accessible, but people that are in walkers,
right,
and need some assistance. The first issue that I look at and I run into is the flooring. Tile floor is real big in Florida, but if it has the wide grout joints and the rough edges, tile can be hard to maneuver on. And then, of course, we look at the shower areas. Does it have a curb or a step down? And different things like that. The toilet areas, there enough room to get in and out of a wheelchair, grab bars, different things like that. But unfortunately, for some reason, most of the bathrooms don't have a wide enough door.
And it's amazing. And let's talk a little bit more in depth. By the way, you're listening to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Lumber. My special guest today is Mike Hensley from Mike Hensley Construction, and we're talking about aging in place. Big topic with our seniors because unfortunately as we get older, you know, we do lose mobility. All right, go in a typical bathroom, for example. Most bathrooms in older homes have 2.6 doors, which are 30-inch wide doors. Some may have a 2.8 door, but in a lot of cases you need a 3-foot door to go in it, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you do.
So to move it, put a 3.0 door in, what has to happen, Mike?
Well, the first thing that I look at, Don, as a contractor is that wall a structural wall? Mm-hmm. Now, we can widen the door whether it's a structural wall or not, but we must identify that. So if we do take the wall out and make it bigger, that we do the structural header across to keep the integrity of the home.
And that's real important because if you hire someone with no experience and they just knock that door out and knock studs out, if that's a bearing wall for a truss, you could actually have a roof sag, couldn't you?
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't understand that bearing walls and trusses go down to the actual foundation, and it's supposed to all bear with a certain weight all the way down, correct?
Yes, sir.
But say it's not a bearing wall, you can put a 3.0 door in there. The other thing is you have to move the electricity, don't you?
Yes, sir. All the time you have to move the electric. And one thing that a lot of people overlook is the fact that when you make the door opening larger, you're going to have an area at the bottom with no flooring.
Yep.
So it's important that you have a piece or two of the existing floor, or a lot of times we need to redo the floor anyway because it's carpet, and that's one of the worst surfaces for a wheelchair or a walker.
Let's talk about the toilet area itself. A lot of homes have the plain toilets, which are lower.
Yes, sir.
And they're very difficult for people with mobility issues because if you're going from a wheelchair or something, there's two issues. Number one, you got to have the right size toilet. Plus, you have to have a place for the wheelchair to get by next to the toilet, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you and do you have the experience to modify toilet areas to accommodate those needs?
Yes, we do that quite often. I use a Kohler high-rise toilet a lot. It seems to be one of the most popular toilets that I install. It's quite a bit taller than the other toilets. And ADA, if you look at some of the ADA standards, you need to have a 4-foot access either in front of the toilet or a 3-foot access beside the toilet in order to make the transition from the chair to the toilet. And then it's real important in that area to locate the grab bars where they're convenient to the person that's in the chair. And a lot of times, Don, I'll actually put the people, have them come in there and have them reach out and set the grab bars at a level that's comfortable for them and not just a standard so many inches off the floor.
The other thing about grab bars, and I've heard you do this, is that the grab bars have to be thoroughly anchored properly.
Yes.
And a lot of times that requires extra blocking in the wall, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. Typically what we'll do is cut the drywall out and put blocking in the wall to where it's part of the wall, wood blocking, and then attach the grab bars to those.
Okay. A lot of people have vanities in their bathrooms, and those are not very good for people in wheelchairs. What can be done around the vanity area in the bathroom, Mike?
Well, Don, one of the most inexpensive ways is to get the sinks that mount to the wall.
Okay.
And then we just cover the pipes and protect them so that they're not jagged, and if you were to roll into them, they wouldn't cut you or anything like that.
Yeah, they actually make a boot or something.
Yes,
you put on.
yes, sir, they do.
So you can take the vanity out and put a wall hanging sink that is conducive for a wheelchair.
Yes, sir. And then typically what we'll do is lower the mirror because sometimes they have an issue of seeing in the mirror at the standard height. So we do lower the mirrors.
Now, Mike, to me, and we ran across this with my mother-in-law, the biggest challenge when my mother-in-law lost her mobility, she had a tub in the house.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of people have tubs. A lot of people have these showers where they may have a 4-inch or a 6-inch curb to keep the water from backing out. Now, you've told me off there you've got a unique solution for solving that, and to me it sounds so much better than some of the solutions, you know, like the all-in-one tubs I hear. Talk a minute about one of your ideas that you do to accommodate people in these areas.
Well, Don, what we do is we'll pull the tub out, and then we'll take the concrete up, and we'll come out so many inches out into the bathroom floor, and we will start sloping the floor to the new drain location. And so we'd put the tile back in on a gradual slope,
okay,
to where there's no threshold, there's no step, there's nothing to trip on at all. And I put an arched shower curtain in. So when they get into the shower, they can pull that closed, still have their privacy, and then the floor is sloped all the way out. So any splash or any water simply runs right back into the drain. Now, one of the things that a lot of people are concerned with is any resale value from making these changes. Mm-hmm. I've actually done this shower in a lot of designer type homes for people that didn't need the access. They just love the look and convenience of walking in and out.
It is a unique thing. So basically, you take the tub out and you make a low slope so the water will just go right into the drain. In other words, you bring it down to the drain, but someone could literally roll their wheelchair straight in there. Now, I understand there's a lot of products on the market to help people pull up in showers, to grab on, pull shower heads down. Do you have the ability to put those products in also?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Don. Typically, we'll put the grab bars all the way around a shower unit like that. And there is one shower head in particular that I really like. And the slide, it'll slide up and down so you can adjust it to a fixed height. And you can also pull that shower head off and use it as a handheld shower. But what makes this one unique is that that bar that the shower head slides up and down on is actually rated as a grab bar.
Okay.
So you can also hold on to it.
Mike, you've talked a lot about the various things you can do in the bathroom. If someone wanted more information, what phone number can they reach you at?
352-516-0499.
You know, Mike, I think we need to have a little clarity on one thing. The issues we're talking about today and the modifications to the home you do,
yes, sir,
are not so, they have to do with the comfort and aging in place, but aren't these really safety issues? Because quite honestly, if someone were to fall because they didn't have good access to a tub, that'd be a heck of a lot more in bills than just modifying the bathroom, correct?
Yes, sir. It is. It's all about safety in this situation. And you know, you don't even need to be to a point to where you have to be in a wheelchair or a walker for these grab bars and different things to really be helpful to you.
Mike, sometimes the bathroom is just too small. For example, if you're in a
Yes,
home and you need to take part of a bedroom and move a wall, How often does that occur, and is that something that you can do at Mike Hensley Construction Company?
Yes, sir, I can do that. We don't do a lot of it because typically I have done these modifications in a bathroom as small as 5 by 8.
Oh, so you typically can make it work?
Yes, sir. I may rearrange part of it, but I typically can make a smaller bathroom accessible to a wheelchair.
Okay. When you do a plan like that, do you draw a plan out? Do you have a plan drawn, and do you sit down with the homeowner and talk in detail about what their requirements are and what they're looking for?
Yes, sir. Typically I meet with them and I make a few sketches on site and put some ideas together. And then I will go back to the office and do a rough sketch of it and a proposal, which is the price of the job. And I'll meet with the homeowners, go over the sketch, the details, what I think will work, and then the price.
You do a lot of structural changes to homes when people are having to age in place and they're losing mobility. What is the biggest call, or what typically is the most important call you get from these homeowners? What's driving them?
Just accessibility to a shower, to a bath. You know, I had a customer not too long ago that had to be taken to a facility twice a week to get a shower. Mm-hmm. And we made these modifications to the home, and they were just so thrilled that now they could take a shower every day if they wanted to. And
that's a wonderful story. Mike, you know, we talked about doors earlier, having to make the doors where they are larger to accommodate wheelchairs and to accommodate hospital beds. There's also another issue on doors is thresholds. They do make handicapped thresholds. Do you talk a little bit about what a handicapped threshold is and why it's important to have them on your doors?
Well, the handicapped threshold, Don, is basically just a low rise on the threshold. Really simple to change out. But the biggest offender in my experience are sliding glass doors. The tracks are very hard to maneuver if you're in a chair or a walker. And I do a lot of those. I take them out and install French doors. And then the threshold is in the recess of the sliding glass door, and it's virtually level with the floor.
And because Romac Lumber installs so many patio doors, I can tell the reason. Because the patio door is primarily glass, with the higher wind values and water, and prevent water intrusion, they generally have to go with a much higher threshold. The problem is I can't tell you how many people's probably been injured tripping over these thresholds.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing. They stop water intrusion in the house, but they created a hazard for people living in the house. This segment of Around the House is sponsored by the All-Star Garage Door Company and its openers. The best and most popular garage door opener in Lake and Sumter County is a durable, chain-driven garage door opener from All-Star. This heavy-duty opener is a workhorse in the villages and other communities, and it has a reputation for dependability. With a full line of openers and remotes, Romac Garage Doors can take care of your service and installation issues. Lose a remote? It's no problem for Romac Garage Doors. They can get you a new remote and program the old ones. For more information or to schedule a service call, give them a call at 352-748-4575. That's 352-748-4575. Romac Garage Doors is the only name you can trust for fair, dependable garage door service. We're talking with Mike Hensley from Mike Hensley Construction about aging in place. Mike has a construction company that specializes in structural changes to the home when someone has lost their mobility. Mike, typically when a senior's had a stroke or after rehab, they can't negotiate stairs. And it's almost imperative that a ramp and maybe a good sidewalk is put in to allow that senior to get from the garage, get from the road into their home. Talk about your ability to build ramps, and I saw one in which you incorporated some great hardware. Talk about how you do ramps and what you incorporate in these ramps.
Well, Don, when you go to build a ramp, the first thing that I look at is the elevation of the doors. ADA requires a certain amount of slope per foot, and a lot of times the most convenient door is too high to be able to get a ramp to the car.
Right.
So we'll look at the side doors, the back doors, and different things like that, but we're really looking at elevation and the length of the ramp, because you want to come out in a convenient area.
And so you guys can install a complete ramp that's a low slope and bring it into somebody's house. And once again, it's an accessibility issue.
Yes, sir.
You know, one thing, Mike, is a lot of widowers, they can't really live at their home by themselves, but they're somewhat independent. And I'm seeing more popular these days, well, it's more popular, the mother-in-law suites, the senior one little apartment in the back of a home or something. Is that something you can do? And if someone wanted to plan a little one apartment or change a little area to a one apartment for a senior, like an aging mom or dad, is that something you can add to someone's house?
Yes, sir. We've done quite a few of those. And the first thing that the people and I need to look at is their lot and their property line, so that we can see the setbacks and see which area of their house that they have enough room to build it. And there's a couple things that are important to keep in mind. Is number one, are you going to assess the house, the apartment from the house?
Right.
And are you going to have an outdoor entrance? Are you going to have both? And sometimes just the size of your lot will dictate which part of the house that you're going to have to build the apartment. And I've had a situation where the apartment had to go off of the master bedroom. Well, then you have to make the decision, do you want a door going from the master bedroom into that new apartment? In this case, we only put an exterior door.
But you know, if mom and dad is to the point they need a little extra help, but you don't want to, you know, let's be honest, to put someone in a facility is costly. In fact, 1 year in a facility will cost as much as probably 4 times to build an addition like this. It's amazing what can be done. I take it you have the ability to get the plans drawn, to do the permitting, and to take care of the full process for the homeowner. Basically, you just need to sit down with them, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if someone were needing a mother-in-law suite built or a room modified to accommodate a senior aging parent, what's the phone number they could reach you at again, Mike?
My number is 352-516-0499.
Mike, what is the most common mistake seniors make when they realize their mobility is being lost in getting their home ready?
Well, Don, one of the most common mistakes that I see is it's twofold. One is a lot of the seniors are afraid that they can't afford to make the changes that are needed in their home. And a lot of times the changes they need are not that expensive, especially if you compare them to an assisted living facility. The second one is that a lot of them feel like they don't have enough room in their current house to make the changes necessary.
Well, Mike, we've had a lot of information discussed today about aging in place and structural changes to the home. Great comments. Mike, real quick, can you give us your contact information once again, because I'm sure there's a lot of seniors with questions.
My phone number is 352-516-0499, or you can contact me on my email, mhensley, Hensley is Hensley, mhensleyconstruction@yahoo.com.
And when we get back, we got Dennis McGee, who's going to talk about some minor changes you can make around the house that are going to make big differences if you're aging in place. Stay tuned. I'd like to welcome you back to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Lumber. I'm your host, Don Magruder, and you're listening to my 790 AM WLBE in beautiful Leesburg, Florida. And if you're watching us today, then you're viewing us on Lake Sumter Television, LSTV, and Appleseed Marketing on Bright House 199, Comcast 13, and Florida Cable 4. We're going to continue our discussion about aging in place, and I'm being joined by Dennis McGee, who is the owner of the local Mr. Handyman franchise. Welcome, Dennis. How are you doing?
Oh, just fine, Don. Thanks for having me.
Now, I want to be clear. Our previous guest, Mike Hensley, was a licensed construction company, and by the way, he said that all his estimates are free, and I think you're offering free estimates too, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And but there's a big difference in what you do, and because a lot of yours doesn't involve the structural components, correct?
That is correct, yes. We are a general contractor. We have a general contractor's license, but we don't. We really don't do additions or things like that. We are focused primarily on home maintenance and repairs.
And there's a lot of services you provide to make the senior more comfortable when they're aging in place.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Dennis, tell our listeners about yourself and what is Mr. Handyman?
Well, like you said, I own the local Mr. Handyman franchise with my wife, Wendy. We live here in Leesburg. The franchise we own covers from Ocala to Apopka, a big, large chunk of Central Florida here. Yeah, yeah. Mr. Handyman, as a franchise, has been around for quite a while. They are the largest supplier of handy people in the country today. We basically work off a model of safety and professionalism in the home. Taking a little bit off from your local guy, not to take anything away from him, but the guys that work for me are actually direct employees. We don't use subs as for our handyman work. Before they can work for us, they actually go through criminal, drug screen, and DMV background checks. We do that, of course, because they're going into our neighbors' homes. Mm-hmm. But also, all of the insurance, the workman's compensation, liability, and bonding is all in place. We actually provide that for our employees, where they're not 1099s, as they say. And of course, we do silly little things like show up on time. You know.
Well, and to be frank with you, a lot of handyman people, and a lot of them are great handymen, but they do not have the credentials or licenses or the insurance that will protect the homeowner in case of an accident.
Oh, that's just like Mike was saying before. All of our employees actually carry our insurance declarations and our licensing information with them. Any of our customers, anytime, can say, "Hey, can I see your insurance? What do you have?" And we're readily able to give it to them right there.
Mike, what's a phone number you can be reached, or how can you be reached, and what are the various scopes of work you do?
Well, like I said, we do home repair and maintenance. We can be reached at our websites, www.mrhandyman.com. Our office is in Lady Lake. The phone number to the office is 352-259-6566. And again, like I said, home repair, maintenance for both homes and businesses. And in the scope of our program today, little things like grab bars and things for seniors and people needing help staying in their home.
Dennis, I understand you've just been certified. Let's talk about this a little bit.
Sure.
Certified to help people who need to age in place. First off, tell us about your certification and what does that mean for Mr. Handyman?
Well, what we just recently did, I just went through what's called a Certified Aging in Place Specialist program. I am a Certified Aging in Place Specialist. It's a program offered by the National Home Builders Association. Mm-hmm. And basically what it does is it allows me to talk to seniors or quite frankly, anyone in need of accessibility and sort of go through their home and help them understand some of the things that we can do to change. In some cases, we'll find ourselves working on bigger projects where we might call in someone like Mike to come and help us do rehab a bathroom or something like that.
Dennis, Mr. Handyman, has developed something called Safe at Home, which is a checklist, which I think is wonderful. First off, you said something earlier. It's not just seniors who have mobility issues. Sometimes there's accidents. You might have a young mother that's fallen and broken the ankle and needs access. Well, I mean, aging in place is one thing, but I know, for example, I know a young mother right now with 2 kids that basically broke her ankle and has limited access in her home.
Perfect example. We just did grab bars for a customer with cerebral palsy.
And that's a big deal.
Right.
Let's talk about the various steps. Now, and I want to talk a little bit about your checklist because I think it's important that we talk a little bit about each one. First on your checklist is the exterior entrances and exits. And talk about some of the things that you're going to do in the exterior. You're going to check on that.
Well, literally, as you arrive at the home, you walk up to the home and you look around. Are there trip hazards in the sidewalk? How many steps does one have to go up? Is there a railing? What is the swing of the door? In swing, out swing. What is the accessibility of the door? And again, as we alluded before, what is the size of the door? I mean, can we get in and out? Do we need ramps? In some cases, you don't need a full ramp. Maybe you need a threshold ramp to help get over maybe a 3 to 4 inch threshold.
Well, and there's another thing, in older homes, steps a lot of times were built with the incorrect rise.
That's correct. Yeah.
You know, I know if it's an older person, back in the day, they would go with 2 and 3 inch rises, but you have some older homes with 8 inch risers that are very difficult for people with mobility issues to negotiate.
They're actually difficult for people without mobility issues because the standard 7 inch rise, people get used to it.
Yep.
And you arrive somewhere with the wrong rise, you can trip right there too.
Okay, you go inside, you look at the interior doors, the stairs and the halls. What are you going to look for in those?
Well, it's just we start with the floor and work our way up. A perfect example is, are there trip hazards on the floor? How are the carpets laid out? What are the thresholds between the doors? Sometimes you'll have tile going to carpeting. What is the size of that threshold? Does that need to be adjusted? A big one is the doorknobs on the doors. The traditional doorknobs are round. The new ones are actually levered, so you can get in and out quickly and easily. Someone with arthritis being able to grab hold of them.
And you can go through and change all the door locks out.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Mike alluded earlier in the show, he talked about the transitions of the floor. That's a big deal, isn't it?
That is a big deal, yeah.
Are you able, say if a floor is off level, to smooth it out and to make it where someone can take a walker or a wheelchair and go through?
Well, absolutely. There's a number of different ways to do it. The simplest would be to adjust the actual threshold guide between the two. You're
listening to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Lumber. Our special guest now is Dennis McGee. He's Mr. Handyman. Are you? I'm sorry. You own the local Mr. Handyman franchise. It goes from Ocala to Apopka, and we're talking about aging in place and how to make your home more accessible, just in case you have a mobility issue. And we're going through his safe at home checklist. And once again, when you talk about age in place, we alluded to this earlier. It's really not so much about age in place as much as a safety issue, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's a number of things to consider. When people think about aging in place, it's a name that's given to it because that's the majority of the need. But it really lends itself to what they refer to as universal design, something that everybody can be comfortable with, whether they're grab bars or lever handles or anything like that. So,
all right, you're going in the bathroom, and what are some things in the bathroom you're going to check on your checklist?
Well, of course, there's the grab bars, there's the height of the toilet, and basically turn area for wheelchairs. Yeah.
And you're able to adjust the mirrors, because if someone has a mobility issue, the mirrors can be too high in most cases, aren't they?
Oh, perfect example, right.
Now, are you guys able to change out toilets and handle those issues too?
I like to say, yeah, we can change out fixtures and toilets. I tell my customers, you need a plumber if you're going to move them, if you're going to put them in a different spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, another big deal is the faucets. You know, a round faucet handle may have to be moved to a lever faucet handle.
That's correct, yeah.
And you guys are able to...
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah. You got a checklist for the kitchen. What are you going to look at the kitchen?
Well, you're going to look for dangers, a height of countertop, the types of stove tops that they have. There's a number of different things that you can do in a kitchen. If a person's in a wheelchair, pull-out drawers are absolutely key. lower countertop for accessibility, roll under accessibility at the sink. One of the things that we've seen recently are proximity ovens. In other words, stoves where it won't get hot unless you put a ferrous pan on it. And it's much safer because if someone's reaching over a hot stove to reach for something, they could burn themselves if they're in a wheelchair.
Well, something I see on your checklist, it's a big deal, is knee space. In other words, if you have someone who's in a wheelchair,
that's right.
They have to get to the counter, but you can't do it on the side, so you have to literally roll to a counter. So are you able to make countertops where someone could roll a wheelchair and actually prepare their food?
Oh, absolutely. You actually clear the cabinet under so that there's roll space to reach to it.
All right, then you're going to go in the living and dining room, and what are you going to do in there?
Well, living and dining room, again, things like, where's the thermostat? Can they reach the thermostat to turn the heat up and down? It has to be at the right height.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Same thing with light switches. Light switches are pretty standard these days. And another big key throughout the house, speaking of light switches, is light in general. As we get older, we find we need more light. And so we need to make sure that the right types of lights are in there to allow us to see better throughout the house.
You're going to go through the laundry room. You're going to check the telephone and doors. I guess you have to adjust telephone jacks, don't you?
Telephone jacks have to be adjusted, and telephones have to be accessible. People that have lived in their house for a long, long time might have a wall phone that they suddenly can't reach. So we have to make sure that that's reachable and accessible.
And you're going to look at windows to make sure they're accessible and electrical outlets. And then big deal is the heating and ventilation. Making sure that's a big checklist.
That is a big checklist, yeah.
So you're going to do this 11-point checklist. You're going to get all your findings and you're going to take it to the homeowner. Now, to do this evaluation, how much will it cost the homeowner to do a safe at home checklist by Mr. Handyman?
Now, there's no charge for that. This is really, in all fairness, this is almost a community service for people. I mean, of course, it's a good benefit to us because we get to meet the homeowner and discuss things with them. But it doesn't take that long to go through the checklist itself, and there's no charge. Basically, it's free in-house consultation.
Okay, if someone listening today or watching today wanted a checklist done, what number should they call, and what type of time period will it take for you to come out there and look at it typically?
Typically, appointment-wise, it's 2 or 3 days to set up the appointment. Our phone number, again, is 352-259-6566, and we're there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
This segment of Around the House is sponsored by Romac Doors and Custom Millwork. Do you need a special size or an odd size door? How about some special molding that no one else can get? At Romac Doors and Custom Millwork, they can tackle the hard-to-find items that can save you thousands of dollars in construction costs. Call Romac Custom Doors and Millwork at 787-4545. That's 352-787-4545 for more information on your next odd-sized door or piece of molding. And Dennis, I guess when you're doing a customer's house, if our homeowner's house and there's a piece of odd molding, occasionally you do have to have stuff made rather than take everything out, don't you?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And sometimes you have to have custom doors made with lower thresholds and different sizes, don't you?
Well, that's true. Manufactured homes are a perfect example.
For a senior that's getting older and they're losing their mobility, what are some of the recommendations? We talked about the checklist, but why don't you go through some of the things, walk them through the house that you typically do as a Mr. Handyman franchisee for someone who has mobility issues aging in place?
Well, again, it's just like we said, we walk them through the house and take them from room to room to see how comfortable they are, see what their reach is, see what kind of difficulty they have literally in everyday life. Mike was here and we talked about the bathrooms. That is probably the highest priority for a lot of our customers. We'll get calls for grab bars and things like that quite often for people that are on their way home from rehab and things like that. So essentially it's just what we've gone over, the thresholds, trip hazards. Do we need new flooring because the carpets are worn? Things like that.
Okay, now are you able to do all the scopes in these projects? For example, if someone needed some electrical switch moved or a little plumbing, I know some of this you may have to bring a plumber in or
Sure.
electrician in, or if someone needed painting done and modifications to the home, are you able to get those scopes done?
Well, as a general contractor, in general, yes. But we'll get calls from customers with specific issues, electrical or plumbing, that require a licensed plumber, and that's all they need done. We'll actually recommend a plumber or electrician or a roofer. We keep literally a list of trades that we know that we're able to say, listen, give this guy a call and he'll take good care of you. Tell him we said to call. So,
okay, thinking about the age in place projects you've done and people you've talked to, what are some of the mistakes and misconceptions people have about aging in place?
well, actually, my favorite thing is not doing it. I mean, I hear people say all the time, well, I don't really need that. I actually had an incident where a person was, they had pulled the toilet paper roller off next to the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons they did that, it was because they were trying to get up and they pulled it off. And I said, they make a designer toilet paper roller that is actually a safety bar also.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they're great. And you have to present it like that because sometimes people are hesitant to say, well, gee, I need grab bars, I need something like that. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is the biggest mistake people have is delaying or putting it off. It's better to have a grab bar and never need it than find you need one and reach for it and it's not there.
Do you find that a lot of people are, I hate to say it, better choice in denial, saying, I haven't lost mobility, I don't need a grab bar, and they wait till it's almost too late?
Well, that's true. But I do have another story for another customer of mine, a very good friend who was an older woman living by herself. And we sort of decided that we were going to put grab bars in. And about 2 weeks later, she called me and she said, I really didn't want these grab bars, but I can't tell you how happy I am to have them.
Because of knee issues?
It just made a big difference. In other words, she didn't know what she was missing.
And that's a good point. You're listening to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Lumber. Our special guest is Dennis McGee. He's the owner of the local Mr. Handyman franchise that goes from Ocala to Apopka. He's got a lot of handymen that work for him. And Dennis, we're talking about aging in place and losing mobility. Once again, if someone's heard something and they'd like you to come out and talk to them about maybe a safe at home checklist, what phone number and how can you be reached?
Well, they can reach us at 352-259-6566. They can also go to our website, www.mrhandyman.com, and you can actually put in a request at our website as well, and just send us a note.
One thing you were talking about the new technology on the grab bar for the toilet paper holder,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of products a lot of seniors don't know about. Technology in this field is improving every day because the population is getting aging. The people are getting older.
Sure.
And it's becoming a bigger issue. What are some of the new items you see and some of the most popular items you're seeing people want and being used today?
Well, Mike alluded to it, the ADA height toilets. They're called chair height toilets. They're 17 3/4 inches high. They're much easier to get on and off of. And while we're in the water closet, there is actually an angled grab bar that you can use to help you get up and down from the toilet as well, which is a very stylish looking, but also extremely practical. And again, when we go back to grab bars in general, in the shower, they have soap dishes that are actually grab bars. They have, I joke with some of my customers, if you don't want a grab bar, let's just consider it a really beefy towel holder. And so the styles and the things that they're doing these days are much, much better.
Also, Mike, and I don't want to go, but I understand there are also new products for folks who are a little bigger.
Sure.
For toilets, that are water closets that people need a little larger seat. They need a little heavier bowl. those type of products exist these days, don't
That's
they?
right. That's right.
And is that something that your group can handle?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it goes back to what Mike was saying about needing larger doors and access as well. I mean, that'll happen as someone gets older, or if something happens where they need to be better access because of girth, for lack of a better word.
Okay. And if someone needed work like this done, do you offer upfront pricing? You know, a lot of seniors, let's just be honest with you, they feel like they get ripped off every time. For example, if a senior today has an accident and they become immobile, they feel that whoever they call is just going to rip them off and charge them because they know they're in a dire situation. Do you offer upfront pricing and so that they understand what's going on?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you make a really, really good point. A lot of times we'll follow a guy that was less than honest, and they're really, really concerned about that sort of thing. We're a little bit different than that guy simply because we come from a national entity. There are many, many levels and recourse for our customers. And one of the things we do is we try to keep we try to treat our customers pretty much upfront and take good care of them.
Well, that's a big deal, and I'm sure there are people who are not associated with Mr. Handyman, a handyman that has no credentials, that could do a job a little lesser in price.
Oh, absolutely.
But the problem is, what are you going to get, and what's your service guarantees? What are your service guarantees and promises to your customers?
Oh, we guarantee our labor for a year. And we're always available. I tell customers, I love to tell customers, phone calls are free.
Yep.
Call us anytime.
And the age in place checklist is free. That's a free service you said you're providing to the community.
Oh, that is correct, yes.
And once again, because of the show, you may have a few extra, so it'll be a little bit of a waiting period, hopefully. Let's talk about some of the other works performed. You know, we talked about your age in place stuff, but talk about some of the other scopes that don't involve aging in place.
We do, well, it's general home repair. One of our biggest things is drywall repair. Someone bumps a door and it makes a hole in the drywall. We do railings, which relates to aging in place, especially short railings going up and down these 3 steps going into a manufactured home. Leaky faucets, you know, fixing the seals on a faucet, things like that.
For example, if someone wanted to move a light, say they had a fan and they wanted to move the light, is that something in your scope?
Actually, no. If there's a light and if there's a spot on the wall where they want a light and there's no light there, they have to get a licensed electrician. It's called pull wire. We're not allowed to work inside the wall.
Okay.
We can bring in an electrician or we can recommend an electrician.
And do you do that frequently?
You mean recommend an electrician? Oh,
yes.
Sure, sure, yeah. What we try to do is when our customers call us for their needs, if we can't do it, we have a resource for them. In other words, we'll never say, no, we just don't do it, and hang up the phone. We'll always have a place for them to turn because they're turning to us to begin with.
Okay. Do you primarily just work on the interior of the house, or do you include the exterior also?
Oh, we've done exterior painting, power washing, gutter cleaning. Sure, yeah.
Okay. And as far as making screens and such like that, are you able to get screens?
Oh, yeah. Well, eye screens are a big one, yeah, especially in the windy weather. Yeah.
So typically your work week is from when?
We typically work Monday through Saturday. Our normal hours, our office hours, are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay. We've just got a few minutes longer, and the show is about aging in place. And want to go back to the checklist just a minute. Mm-hmm. It's an 11-point checklist. You're going to do it free for consumer, for the homeowner. As you go through the checklist and you find issues that can be resolved, are you going to detail price each one to give recommendations on how it can be resolved and the pricing?
Oh, of course. There's kind of no point to going through the checklist if you don't have solutions for your customers. And what we'll do is we'll go through the checklist and we'll take a look at some of the options that are available to them to resolve some of the issues that they may be having. So.
Now, a lot of seniors are on fixed incomes and budgets. Are you able to find alternative solutions? You know, a lot of times a senior might not be able to afford a high-rise toilet. Are there other solutions that's available?
Oh yeah, there are other solutions available. There are toilet seats that will rise them up, and there's different options for things like that, as an example. Yeah.
And are you able to introduce those?
Oh, sure.
When you think about someone aging in place, what's your best recommendation? What would you recommend if a senior's starting to have mobility issues? What would you say they need to do first?
Well, first you have to not think about it as aging in place, but think about it as comfort level. You need to be, you need to take a look around and say, what am I struggling with? Take the age thing out of it, because along with the age thing comes a little bit of ego. And so take the age thing out of it and just say, how can I not struggle with this anymore? And what can we do to make myself more comfortable?
And when you go through that process, you're going to give them a solution.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I suppose a lot of your grab bars are used by people with arthritis who have what we call sore knees.
That's right. That's right.
Dennis, in closing, once again, tell everybody where you're located, a little bit about Mr. Handyman and how they can contact you.
Sure. Our offices are in Lady Lake, right on 441. Our phone number there is 352-259-6566. Or you can go to the web and look us up, www.mrhandyman, all one word, .com. And you can even request service and look at our local reviews and see everything that we do there as well.
Really like to thank you for joining us today, and we'd also like to thank Mike Hensley from Mike Hensley Construction joining us. We've had a wonderful conversation talking about aging in place. We'd also like to encourage our listeners and viewers to read the Around the House column every Wednesday in the Daily Commercial and Saturdays in the South Lake Press. And be sure to listen to Around the House radio show on Mondays from noon to 1 p.m. We'll see you next week. Until then, we'll see you around the house.